Hello and welcome. My name is Witty G, and to be honest, I'm not feeling it today. You ever wake up sometimes and the plans you had for the day just feel empty? Your days feel repetitive, dull, monotonous, and draining all at the same time. It feels like you can barely find the energy to pursue the things you really care about. Or, if you're creative, it feels hard to make any art. Whether it's dancing, streaming, acting, writing, putting something together, or editing, you just feel exhausted. These may be the symptoms of a person who is in need of a well-deserved break, mentally, physically, and probably spiritually. Honestly, if you're feeling this way, 1. Take a break. Do something for you. Enjoy your day, night, or afternoon, whatever time it may be for you. Do something that helps you. And if you can't do it right now, make some time for the day that you set aside just for you, because we all need that in order to stay as sane as we possibly can. But if you decide to stay and check out the rest of this video, I have a question for you. When was the last time you were on a multi-biome safari? Because I feel like I need a break, and I'm sure you do too. And a multi-biome safari seems like the perfect thing I could use right now. Oh, okay, so it's been a few years, huh? Yeah, that's far too long. I was in the same boat. Actually, well, I've never been on a multi-biome cruise, unless you count Minecraft, because due to inflation, tickets for a multi-biome vacation have skyrocketed, and quite frankly, it's completely out of control. So I'm forced to deal with regular American seasons and American biomes. Luckily for me, and hopefully for you, there are gaming devices that allow us to teleport to any digital world that we can afford, and instead of getting constantly ransacked and exploded in Minecraft, I opted for a much more peaceful journey through the ecosystems. I stumbled upon Omno. What is Omno? I'm sure you're wondering. Well, it's a game. Yeah, it's a puzzle adventure game starring who I can only assume is Omno, as he maneuvers through several different biomes, capturing little specks of light, engaging with nature, and searching for some sort of enlightenment at the end. It's a story about a nomadic journey around the world to find oneself and the meaning of oneself, and do cool skater tricks. Doing cool skater tricks is a big part of this game. Honestly, it's a game about hippy-dippy nonsense. If this was in the Cars universe, the one minivan would be playing it all the time. What I found myself enjoying about the game, though, were the small things. The environments, the growth of your character, the cutscenes, and most importantly, the colors. So, we start off slumped out in the swamp like you do, and you traverse through these ruins interacting with the environment and with the wildlife. You can't fight. You cannot fight at all. You can try, but you can't. You just interact. You show them your stick and they hop or something, or hide, or wiggle. They do something. This little onion boy was clearly a fan of Teddy Roosevelt's foreign policy of speaking softly and carrying a big stick, because we don't even talk either. We just make shit happen by tapping our rod, or skating on it, or pushing shit with it. We can harness light with it too, so it's probably magic, or at least curse. Maybe it's like a family heirloom like the Cooper King, which is why it's so able to do such cool shit. So we move from the swamp to a beautiful floating rock place with tall trees that reach into the sky sporadically. It is at this place that we are introduced to a flying green creature that seems petrified of us. We move from here to the glacial mountainous area with giant jellyfish that bounce ever so gently on the air. This section is definitely one of my favorites for its surreal environments and wildlife. Here is around the time we start to get upgrades as well. This starts with the dash, then the ability to ride the staff like a skateboard, then being able to dash between these panels instantly, and lastly, the hover. All of these movements make traversing this semi-open world that much easier. Also, I feel like Tony Hawk skating around here. After the ice level, we get our desert level, with large foreboding cacti. This biome seems to be the most expansive. I get kind of lost upon first coming here and looking for the puzzles. Oh my god, yeah right, the puzzles. In each of these levels, there are orbs of light that need to be obtained in order to get to the next one. Basically, 3 keys that need to be obtained to leave. Usually, there are a total of 4 in a level, leaving one of the orbs to be optional. I love this addition because it means the player has a choice, which is one of the greatest aspects of a video game. It's what separates video games from movies along with the interactivity that the player has. This also gives levels replayability, or the ability to be replayed after the completion of the game, because some of the puzzles here can be kind of confusing, which is what you want in a puzzle game. You want a variety of puzzles and challenges, but not too much of either because then it becomes an isolating experience. You don't want to overcomplicate things for the newbies, and you don't want to undercomplicate things for those looking for a puzzling experience. There's this weird balance that you had to strike in order to make a fun puzzle game. For this one, there are usually the standard puzzles that use the gimmick of the world, such as the newest upgrade in combination with your previous ones, or just basic platforming. But another puzzle that shows up in each world that gives an orb of light is the tower that we send a storm of white speckles into. When you interact with creatures along your journey, they'll give you white speckles. Obtain enough and you start to glow white and move faster temporarily. These added effects are a visual affirmation that you have obtained enough speckles to donate them to the tower, so you give it up and you get an orb in exchange. Pretty simple. So after our desert challenges are handled, we move back to the greenery, except this is much heavier on the pink and blues, similar to the floating rock place. We have at this point become friends with the little green creature that was once afraid of us. We have also had a few majestic transitions in between the worlds. These often involve riding a creature related to the area that drops you off at the next location. After this one, we ride a dragon. Then we have the second part of this last world. And sadly, I lost my footage here, but here are some of the images from this world. One of my favorite creatures is found here, and after completing this and heading up a large spire, which was the final puzzle before the last cutscene, we find the Temple of Enlightenment, the place we were looking for all this time. We then have this scene. And the game ends. So, I love a lot about this game, not just from a visual and gameplay perspective, but kind of from a thematic one as well. Starting with the artistic stuff, it's impossible to talk about this game without mentioning the colors. Each world has such a personality attached to them. You really feel like you're moving through 4 distinctive biomes. I think a reason that these biomes have such clear personalities is because of the colors. Let's look at the first one. The monochromatic greens of the first world gives off this heavy and grungy persona. This is assisted by the fog and the low energy wildlife. The greenery of the second and last environments is much different. It's much more lush, and it's only focused on a few hues of green as opposed to an entire spectrum of the color. This is also aided by the use of purple, blue, and pink to add a mix of warm and cool tones that all work together. This happens to also be one of my favorite color schemes in general. I think these colors balance each other efficiently, but if used well, one can easily stand out as the main performer. These colors are basically a boy band. I find the desert biome to be the most visually uninteresting, which is accurate to the source material, but I think the creator did a great job balancing the repetitive nature of the desert sands with the interesting contrast of the light sources on this stage, as well as the enlarged vegetation. My favorite biome of all was of course the snow one. I usually hate ice levels except for the aesthetics, but this one was fun to play and to look at. I also felt this was one of the more surreal levels. I felt like I was playing in a Salvador Dali painting. The whole game is surreal, but this part particularly, with the jellyfish and the wildlife, it just all felt like a dream. The other attribute that I enjoyed was the minimalist nature of it all. I like the simplicity of the animals because I still get a sense of their scale, their majesty, their peacefulness, without too much detail added to them. You also get a great sense of their personality through the way that they move. I actually found it very enjoyable that every animal had a unique way of moving. Some even had unique ways of interacting with the player. They were also given descriptions that were able to be accessed at any point in the game. The creator of the game even said in an interview, those animal descriptions were part of my personal notes about them while they were conceived. Another interesting aspect of the game is the use of light. Clearly a huge theme of the story, from the ending scene to the transactional item you receive from your interaction with wildlife. Light is some sort of force that moves between people and causes change. It also is a mechanism in the game used to lead the character in a particular direction. Not to mention, it's a way that life is shown in the game. It functions as a preemptive marker for a puzzle as well. From an interview with Jimmy Fang conducted on behalf of Unreal with the creator of Omno, it is clear that their intention was to make a world that is open, but guide you to particular parts of the level for completion. And light was a major and clever tool for that. So, I've mentioned the creator a few times, but who are they? Well, they are Jonas Menke, father of three from Bielefeld, Germany. I am so sorry if I pronounce any of that wrong. In his 30s, he left his job as a character animator to pursue the dream of making a video game. While I do not suggest this for everyone, the story that ensued is incredible. According to the creator, after being motivated to go that road by a friend, by the community, and by my wife, in that order, he set out to put his idea for Omno on Kickstarter, and after a few backers had joined, and then more, and then more, and then more, then the next thing he knew, he had received enough money to actually pursue this dream. This idea of journeying through worlds, interacting with them, and solving puzzles that lie within, he was on the path to bringing this vision to life. Menke then received the Epic Mega Grant, which was more confirmation that people wanted the product he had in mind, and that this was something worth pursuing. Menke said in that interview, everything. The campaign and the following success, the Mega Grant, taught me a valuable lesson that I will hopefully never forget. If you really put all you have into something you believe in, it will pay off. It's not guaranteed, of course, but you will have little chance of success if you are not fully committed. The months of hard work before the campaign, the long nights, the struggle, it was suddenly worth it. And that felt so incredibly good and meaningful that it still motivates me to this day. It's empowering to hear that, particularly because I'm sure, like me, you may feel like the work you're putting towards your dreams isn't worth it. You could be investing in a job that you don't feel nearly appreciated enough doing, or you could be pursuing something creative that doesn't bring fulfillment immediately, or hasn't felt like it's brought fulfillment since you've started. Since there are times like these, especially in our society when everything is expensive, and unless you're selling your soul to a company, you really can't provide for yourself, let alone support your creativity. It's important to remember the power of passion. Learning to monetize your passions and finding creative ways to do so is the first steps to living happily. Work is a definite for most of us in this life. So finding work that is important and creative and means something is essential. That doesn't mean important to others, that means important to you. Something that you care deeply about and gets you up in the morning. Even work that you don't share that is creative and important to you should be valued. But if you wish to pursue your dreams as a creator who wants to share their creations with the world, here's what Menke has to say to you. What really helps is finding partners you can trust and who can help you out with the many questions and issues that come up when running a company in this business. My co-publisher is amazing. Epic has some super supportive employees, and I've met many fellow devs who are always helpful. Don't hide the fact that you don't know everything. Ask for help, and if you can, give help back whenever possible. Later, in a reply to the question, the business stuff, for sure. I often think about how much easier everything would have been if I would have just kept Omno for myself and had no funding pressure, no expectation, and no contacts. The thing is, without my community, the excitement, the trust people and other partners put into me, I certainly would have given up in the meantime, and it would have become one of the many unfinished test projects somewhere on my hard drive. It sounds cliche, but don't give up. On that note, I failed too many times and learned the hard way that you should show your work early. The longer you work in your dark room, the longer you won't know if people will like it, how to improve it, or if it's even worth working on. Showing your work early allows you to focus on the right aspects, not waste time, iterate faster, and eventually have a better product while being less exhausted. Honestly, wise words. So let's look at the ending again, because Minky says, yes, most games out there use combat as a form of conflict resolution. As a solo dev, I have the freedom to do whatever I want, and can be a bit more experimental with design choices. So, I tried to find satisfying and fun gameplay mechanics that would allow me to get a message across without the use of any sort of violence. I cannot spoil the story of Omno here, but players will hopefully understand the background of that decision once they play through the game. So, I think this ending is an excellent example of visual storytelling. The body language says so much, and the expressions carry a ton of the scene. Without context, you can feel things from these characters, and the genericness of their design only strengthens this. It allows them to be more relatable. I think the ending of this story could mean 3 different things, right? I think the most basic reading of the ending is that the meaning of the story is that the game was not about the destination, but about the journey. Yay! And the real reward was the friend we made along the way. Like I said, I think this is the most basic read of this story, and on a surface level, it definitely works. The other is that the green creature is a representation of some of the older ideas for Omno. Minky mentions in that interview, it is incredibly valuable to see where people go, what they look at, what they notice, what they enjoy, and what they dislike. Despite the demo being a part of the success of the campaign, it still has many flaws and issues that I have since addressed. Climbing over ledges, camera movement, control schemes, the size of the landscapes, and the way I communicate the goals to the player. So much has changed since. What hasn't changed is the overall look and feel. I always tried to stay true to the heart of Omno and what made it successful in the first place. I mention this quote only to say that the ending may be representing that heart and spirit of Omno, while the light at the end of the tunnel represents the possibilities for more changes and more evolutions, all of which may not be good or bad holistically. It's a gamble, much like some of the future is, and instead of clutching to the gamble, Omno / the creator holds on to the original vision for the game. Lastly, and in my opinion the one that's most likely, is a lesson to take care of those who cannot take care of themselves. We see this creature terrified of Omno at the beginning, but slowly warms up and soon befriends him. In the end, it is terrified to go into the light with Omno, so he sacrifices his journey to be with the creature and protect it. After all, they made it through so much of this journey together, and they both needed each other. We see a theme of symbiosis throughout the story of Omno. When Omno interacts with creatures in the environment or gets a ride to a new location, he's interacting with them. He's using them for something as well as they're using him for something. I think it's through that exchange of light. He is someone who does not use attacks to solve problems, but his head, his mind, his thoughts, and his feelings even, to understand the best way to get through this environment. It is the game about patience and being conscious of the other living things around you, and the reliance we have on one another to survive in these biomes we call home. That's at least my take on it. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below, because I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts about this game. I think it also has some issues like Minky mentioned before in terms of the camera and sometimes grabbing onto ledges, but honestly all the issues with this game are so very small and they happen pretty much very infrequently. I never had a time when I was playing this game where I got incredibly frustrated that I just didn't want to play. I felt all the puzzles were challenging in a gradual motion, which is once again what you're looking for when you play a puzzle game. You don't want things just fluctuating automatically and then seeming like you have this impossible puzzle to figure out. But you also don't want it to be so easy that you can breeze through the game, because then it kind of feels like a waste of money. You didn't even get to tease your brain a little bit. But what I do think this game did really well was create a thematically sound story. With that said, go buy Omno if you want to go and take a little journey, or watch someone play it. Either way, great game, and just if you like visuals that are really pretty, go do that. Maybe I'll put some videos out that just show a little bit of the Omno gameplay so you guys can see because it's really good. But yes, I hope the story of Omno's creation inspires you as much as it has inspired me, because I definitely have those days where I don't feel as confident in my own art or my own creations or my own self as much as I would like to. So having stories like these where someone is able to really change their life and follow their passions is encouraging. And it's good to know that in a story that's heavily about symbiosis, that even the creator had to deal with that. Even the creator had to rely on others to help him. And I think that's something we all can learn and apply to our own lives, where asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. I know that's something I need to get better at. So I just want to say thank you, stay happy, stay healthy, and be kind to someone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.